You can still get a mask, a Kendo is Life mask from the shop. There's a link in the description. Go and get one. Okay. Welcome to this week's Kendo rant. I've got some great questions for you today. Again, I'm sat at my desk doing it on the computer. I actually thought that would be quite good because last week I thought it worked quite nicely with the questions coming up on the screen. So I'm doing it again. We've got some great questions. Let's jump right into them. Shop at KendoStar. Okay, first I have a small question, maybe for the next Kendo rant. I've watched your guide to Kendo Boga and it made me wonder, have you ever witnessed a damaged men gane? So the men gane is the cage that goes on the front of the men that basically attaches to the Futon strike zone, okay? And I did say in the guide, the ultimate guide to Kendo Boga webinar that I put up last week, if you haven't seen that, go and watch it. I put a lot of effort into it and I think it's pretty good. But basically, I did say that for the most part, an IBB duralumin mengane is perfectly durable enough for most of us. All right, and yeah, I have seen damaged mengane. Usually, it's from like people that either have used the men like massively, extensively in very, 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 very heavy practices and probably just use that one men and for several years. Like the men gane bars have come a little bit loose or dented and stuff like that. I have seen that happen, and sometimes it can happen from when they smash together as well. Now I've seen that happen with titanium ones as well, not just with the duralumin ones. So it's about looking after it and taking care of them as well. But it's not impossible. It does happen. Next one. I was at a refereeing seminar and I saw a Gyakudo being hit. The sensei called a halt to the Shihai and asked the Shimpan why he didn't raise the flag for Gyakudo. The Shimpan responded, because I've seen better ones be disallowed. I was curious what you might think about the validity of this point. Something maybe for Kendo rant. So this is a message that came to me actually by PM. Now, Gyakudo is the strike. Normally we strike the Migido, and Gyakudo is the Hidari-do. It's the left side, the opponent's left side. That's Gyakudo. So the question is at a seminar, one of the players hits Gyakudo, and the Shimpan doesn't raise the flag. The sensei running the seminar stops the Shihai, says, why didn't you? Because it's a seminar, it's not an official Shihai. Why didn't you give it? And the Shimpan responded with, well, I've seen better ones be disallowed. That's not a good excuse. That's not a good reason. Each Ippon should be judged on its own merits, independent of other points that have happened separately in that Shihai or in other Shihai. That isn't how you judge Yuko Datotsu. The criteria for Yuko Datotsu is objective and it's marked out by the All Japan Kendo Federation. And those guidelines are what we follow. Now, of course, there's subjective interpretation of those objective guidelines, but none of those guidelines are based, you don't say, oh, well, I've seen a better one than that. So this one that meets the criteria, because another one that I think met the criteria better wasn't judged by a different set of Shimpan. And I think this one does, but because that one doesn't, I shouldn't award this one. It's not how you should be doing Shimpan. You shouldn't do your Shimpan based off the decisions of other Shimpan. You should be making your own decisions when you're doing Shimpan. So that's not a good reason not to allow a point. If you don't think it's Ippon, if you don't think it meets the criteria, then you don't award it. All right, but there has to be a reason why not. And it doesn't mean that you can't make a mistake. And this is what happens a lot at these seminars. I've seen it so much when a good point is missed by the Shimpan, which happens. And then the sensei will be like, why didn't you score that? And then they start making stuff up as to why they didn't score it. And it's like, well, why can't we just say, well, yeah, I probably should have. I just missed it. I'll try harder. But I understand they don't want to embarrass themselves in front of the sensei and stuff like that. But, they start making stuff up and, oh, I didn't think it had good Hasaji or something. It's like, really, though? Because it looked like it to me. But, that's not always the case. The fact is Shimpan are human, so they do make mistakes. I make mistakes when I'm doing Shimpan. I try my best not to. I try my best to avoid making mistakes. And I practice so that I make as few mistakes as possible. but I'm certainly not beyond reproach. And sometimes I miss points that should probably be awarded. And sometimes I award points that probably shouldn't be. I try my best to minimize that. Next one. From some comments you've made in a few previous videos, it seems you and KendoStar are based in or near Lancashire. During this pandemic, I've gotten to rewatch some old favourite movies, and I saw the original 1996 Japanese version of Shall We Dance. A large part of the plot centres around a ballroom dancing competition in Blackpool. After seeing it as an impressionable young teenager over a decade ago, I've wanted to visit that part of England ever since. I'm curious if you've ever seen the movie and have an opinion about it. No problem if you haven't. It's a pretty old movie. I'm just curious. I haven't seen the movie. I'd never heard of it. But I did know there was a Japanese movie that centred around ballroom dancing. That was set around the ballroom dancing competition that happens every year in Blackpool. And I know that because I knew there was a Japanese movie that has that, because I was born in Blackpool. KendoStar is in Blackpool, in the northwest of England, in Lancashire. And yeah, it's my hometown, and there is a big ballroom dancing competition that happens every year. Once a year in the summer, the Blackpool town centre is filled with ballroom dances. And basically, I know this Japanese movie exists because when I lived in Japan, people always asked me where I was from. I'd be like, well, I'm from near Manchester. It's the basis of what most people would recognise. But the odd person, when I said I was from Blackpool, would be like, oh yeah, I've heard of that. It's famous for ballroom dancing, right? And it's, oh well, yeah, actually, I guess it is. So I knew the movie existed. I've never seen it. I didn't know the title. But yeah, that's correct. Next one. I'm a newbie with bad eyesight. If I were to wear Bogu, what would you recommend? Contact lenses or get Kendo eyeglass frame? So if you can wear contact lenses, I recommend wearing contact lenses. I understand that many people can't wear contact lenses if their eyesight is in a particular way. I also have bad eyesight. I wear contact lenses all the time. And in Kendo, I absolutely always wear contact lenses. I know of people that have got bad eyesight that don't bother, and they just get used to sort of doing Kendo without contact lenses, or without glasses. I never did that. From the beginning of my Kendo journey, I was wearing contact lenses, and I recommend the same for anyone else that's got diminished vision. If it's not possible for you though, then yeah, the Kendo glasses eye frame the Kendo eyeglass frame is a great solution to it. Next one. Why is my door shrunk during lockdown? I only cleaned it with warm water. Yeah, I know. It's weird that. Same things happen with my my like Kendogi and Hakama and stuff, and yeah, not sure the reason for all that. Hi Andy, my Shinai got heavier too. It's weird. Hi Andy, what do you think about the high intensity interval training, or HIIT? Is it good for Kendo before we return to our dojos? So that's a great thing to bring up. Yeah, I think it must be good for Kendo, because Kendo practice is HIIT, or high intensity interval training, for a lot of its practice methods. I'd say that even suburi or uchikomi geiko and kirikaishi to some extent is high intensity interval training. The concept of HIIT is that you do a burst of high intensity training, and then you have a short break, and then you have another burst of activity. So if you do 30 suburi, mem, 30 times, then 30 seconds break, and then another, that probably takes like a minute or something, or 2 minutes to do 30 suburi, I guess. Or if you do higher suburi, and certainly kirikaishi, the idea of kirikaishi, yeah, man, you do that again, man. And then you have a break while you receive, in a way. It's not a full break though, don't be resting now. But it's, you know what I'm saying, right? It's the concept of HIIT. I think they call it tabata in Japanese, which is named after somebody. And Kakari Geiko is specifically that, isn't it? You know, you have a short burst of intense practice and then a short break, short burst of intense practice, short break. So I definitely think it could be good for Kendo as well. Next one. Hi Andy, can you review and talk about drills for Fumikomi? Being off for this extended time, developing or keeping footwork training is a concern. Thanks. Yeah, I certainly can. Let's get up a video. Okay, so I've brought up this video. This is a video of mine from the Kendo show, Kendo Basics, How to Improve Fumikomi. Watch this video and follow the exercises that we do in this. Also watch the Kendo Zero to Shodan. But basically, I talk you through how to improve your Fumikomi. So yeah, we have all these different exercises that you can use to improve your Fumikomi. You can do this stuff at home. You don't necessarily, need to use the Shinai behind your back like that, but it will help. Yeah, practicing like this will definitely improve your Fumikomi. And I'll give you loads of great pointers. I use some suburi that you can do to help improve your Fumikomi. And we're going to make a long like this. Yeah, Fumikomi suburi. And I even talk about doing Fumikomi against a partner. Okay, so go and watch that video. I think there's loads of stuff that you'll benefit from watching it. Okay, next one. Hi Andy, I have had suriage, kaishi and harai waza tonight as using the Shinogi against the opponent's Shinai. I've seen both the ha edge facing the opponent's blade and the mune edge. I guess it's more noticeable in kata, but as we should be trying to use the same action with the Shinai, I was wondering which method you prefer to see as correct. Okay, let me get something to talk about this. Oof, okay, I'm back. So I've got a bokuto here. I know this isn't a great angle to see it from, but what you're talking about is suriage. So that's when they attack, let's say, men or kote, and you strike upwards this way. That's what suriage is, and then return with a strike. Kaeshi is when you receive on one side of the blade, you turn your wrist this way and you strike on the other side. And harai is when it's not an ojuwaza, it's when you actually make a strike, bam, against their Shinai this way to make a strike. It can be sideways this way, it can be upwards this way, it can be downwards this way like that. Now, you might have even just seen, but what we're talking about here is the angle of the blade as you do these suriage, kaishin, harai waza. Now, for me, I always use the shinogi of the sword, okay? That's this part here, all right? Okay, and this part here, this flat part here at the top of the bokuto, that's called the mune, and that's not the bit I generally use for suriage or kaishi or harai actually. So when I do suriage, the motion would be slightly this way, bam, bam, like that. Okay, if it's kaishi, I would receive on this side, kaishimen, this way, pam, pam, that way. Okay, if it's kaishido, pam, pam, that way. Okay, yeah. And if it's harai waza, and what I'd be doing is I'd be having pressure here. If I'm going sideways, pam, this way, like that. And I'd probably open the Shinai a little bit that way. If it's a Shinai, I'd probably just slap it straight sideways, though, to be honest, because it doesn't make a difference because I don't need to use the curvature. But if it was going to be a harage, I think it's called, when you go upwards that way, palm that way, then I'd turn it inwards that way, like that. Okay, and if it was going to be from the other side, I'd turn it outwards that way, like that. So again, I'm using the ha side, as you said, the ha is the blade, so the actual blade side that way, as I do it that way. Even if I was going to do harai otoshi, I'd be chopping down on top, bam, bam, that way. Okay, so for me, it's generally on the shinogi on the ha side rather than on the mune side. I hardly ever use the mune side. Even if I was going to do like a complicated waza like men kaishi gyakudo, which is a really like unusual waza, I probably wouldn't use that much, but I'd still block this way on this part of the Shinai and then gyakudo that way. Okay, so for me, it's that side of the Shinai. Okay, next one. Hi Andy, thank you for the very in-depth review you recently published on Boga design and manufacturing. It was very helpful and I now have an extra wrinkle on my brain. Would you consider possibly doing a similar comprehensive review on all things related to the Shinai? This would be helpful given all the variations out there, everything from shape, dobari, chokuto, weight distribution, grip size and shape. Grip size and shape. And how each of these variations are best suited for different situations or skill levels. Keep up the great work and thanks again. Okay, thank you very much. I'd be pretty happy to do that, I think. It was quite a lot of effort to put that presentation together, but I think it would be a great one to do, probably on Shinai and maybe even on uniforms at some point as well. So yeah, I think that's something we'll probably do in the future. And okay, next one. Do you think straw mats like the practitioners of tameshigiri test cutting use would suffice as a decent dummy for outdoor suburi practice at home? I'd obviously use a stand to keep it upright. Maybe, I guess so. Yeah, you could like get one of those things. I'd lay it sideways though, rather than like trying to stand it up, unless you were doing door practice. I'd lay it sideways, like on something that's head height, and then hit it for men striking. You could do that, I guess. But you could also use like something else. You know, you could use like a pool noodle. That'd do it as well, you know, like something spongy. You could hit that. That'd be fine. Or if you want to, you know, if you want to use Makiwara, that's fine too. Okay, next. Hi, Andy. This may be a silly question, but I was wondering why there isn't a 9th or 10th dan anymore. So the Zenkennen decided to stop awarding 9th and 10th dans about 20 years ago. I think, something like that. Let's have a look. Okay, so here I am on Wikipedia. And this is the Japanese Wikipedia, and this is about the Dan rankings in Kendo. And I'm going to zoom down to here, and here it says basically that, well, to cut a long story short, the motive was, it was in 2000, the year 2000, so yeah, 20 years ago, they decided to make hanshi, the shogo of hanshi. Now the shogo are what you can get after 6th dan. You can get renshi after 6th dan. You can get kyoshi after 7th dan. And you can be awarded hanshi after your 8th dan. They wanted to make hanshi the pinnacle of achievement in kendo. Okay, they wanted to make that the top thing you could possibly get. So what they did is they made it so you had to be at least kyoshi hachidan. And until that point, I think they were ran sort of, those rules weren't necessarily in place. You could be awarded the shogo even if you could get like hanshi 7th dan and stuff like that. But they did away with that. They said you've got to be kyoshi hachidan to become the hanshi. But if you were already hanshi, even if you were hanshi 7th dan, you kept it. They didn't take anything away. So there are some like hanshi 7th dans out there. And then they also decided at the same time to make it so that the hanshi was the pinnacle of kendo achievement, that Kyudan and Judan would no longer be they'd no longer do gradings for those ranks. Okay, so that's why. But anyone that already was those dan grades, they would continue to keep those grades. Okay, so that's why there still are a handful of 9th dans about. There aren't any more Judan, unfortunately. Okay, next one. Should every kendoka own a pair of tuskegee? I mean, do you have to own them or else you can't enter the competitions? So the tuskegee, or sometimes they're called mejurishi, I think that's the proper name for them, but everyone calls them tuskegee. They're the ribbons that go on your back during a match. There's a red one and a white one, and depending on which side you're playing on, it depends on which one you wear. In the West, most tournaments prepare these and supply them to the competitors or lend them to the competitors while they play. That doesn't happen in Japan. In Japan, you have to take your own. So at least at every Shii I went to and I took my kids to, you had to use your own. The tournament does not provide the tuskegee. So it's normal for people to own their own tuskegee. So yeah, my opinion is that you should have your own, and you shouldn't really rely on the event to supply them for you. And yeah, that's how they do it in Japan. But check with the tournament before you go if you don't want to have any of your own. Next one. Hi, could you please share what sort of Borgu set line you're preparing right now and what special features it's going to have? Thanks. So this is probably in reference to the fact that we've announced that some of our current Borgu sets are going out of production because we've got a new line coming in the autumn, and you're asking me to divulge what sort of Borgu they'll be and what special features they have. Yeah, sorry, that's a secret. Next one. A new student asked if there exists Shinai or Borgu that don't use any leather. She doesn't believe in the use of animal products. Nope, I'm afraid there doesn't. This is something that gets asked quite a lot. I did actually address it in the Ultimate Borgu Guide webinar that I did. It's impossible to make a men at the moment without the use of rawhide for the menbuchi. It always uses animal products. And further, Shinai as well. I've never seen a Shinai with synthetic parts. I have seen some synthetic leather Tsukagawa, but I've never seen the synthetic leather Sakigawa and Nakayui. It's potentially possible that they could exist, but it would be a lot more expensive. But I've never seen them, and they're certainly not in mass production. So no, unfortunately, it's not really possible to do Kendo and completely avoid using animal products. Next one, how's your company doing in Japan? Do you currently or later plan to establish KS as a first choice Kendogu workshop for the Japanese rather than the bigger established ones? Yeah, that is actually something that I've got in the future. Not right now. My priority is continuing to build us as a brand internationally. But yes, we are actually gaining popularity in Japan through our store, our partner store in Saga Prefecture. Lots of Japanese customers see the KendoStar items. Lots of senseis, some Hachidan senseis really have taken to the KS Borgu, the KendoStar Borgu. So I think there's a real market for it in Japan, especially as there's a move away from Borgu that doesn't protect you properly. But people still want lightweight, comfortable Borgu that is protective and good quality. So yeah, I think there's a massive market for us in Japan that we will certainly be moving into in the next few years, I think. Next one, before I ask my question, I will say that I appreciate what you do for Kendo and I love KendoStar. Oh, thank you very much. I may be biased as I spent more money purchasing from KendoStar than I'll admit to my wife. I'm wondering, what is the reason for dropping some of the Borgu sets lines? Is it a business decision? Would you design any of those sets differently knowing what you know now? Why are you dropping the V1 Wraith, which is still pretty green, and the Prime? We're renewing the lineup in the autumn, so we're making way for the new models. We're always looking to innovate and improve the products that we put out there. What you'll see come out in the autumn that are replacing these sets, they're not going to, we're not looking at, they're not going to be like massively light years different. We just made some tweaks for the most part. And it's part of it's a branding decision, but it is a business decision to make our lineup more user-friendly, to be honest, and easier for our customers to select the Borgu that suits them perfectly as well. Next one. Hi, Andy. What's the best way to go about replacing Borgu embroidery? Well, that's a tough one. It depends how the Borgu embroidery is attached to the Borgu. If it's sewn to a tag that's then hand-stitched on, it's not as hard. You'll have to unpick the stitches that stick it on and then peel it off. And then you'd have to try and get a new tag. We could make one for you if you want, if you get in touch with us. And then you'd have to stitch that to it as well. But you need a very thick needle, and you want a metal thimble as well to get the needle through the futon because it's very thick. If it's been stitched to it with a machine, you're going to have a much harder time. It's not impossible, but it'll take you a long time to do that. Okay, last one. What is the resistance in Kendo to modern materials like clips, Velcro, and buckles that would make the gear so much more accommodating? It is literally the only sport I know to advocate a dress for the purpose of concealing your footwork. All right, first, I don't know if you mean that the hakama is a dress, but the hakama is not a dress. It's not considered a dress in Japan, and it's not a dress. It's like a kind of wide trousers, if anything. But anyway, the resistance to modern materials like clips and Velcro and buckles are because the way the Borgu is made and exists, and I've done a video about this recently. I suggest you go and watch the video I did about redesigning the men and why I don't think it's going to happen. The design of Kendo Borgu is an innate part of Kendo history, like the kata, and you can't just remove it or modernize it without turning it into something else. The All Japan Kendo Federation isn't necessarily looking to modernize Kendo, and it's not trying to make it into a sport either. Kendo is Budo, And there's things in Kendo that are intentionally difficult and more difficult than they have to be. And learning to tie your boga properly is part of the shugyo of Kendo. That also is, like I say, it's part of continuing the important history of Kendo. The hakama in Kendogi is wafuku. It's Japanese clothing, traditional Japanese clothing. And the All Japan Kendo Federation, and I agree with them on this point, is not looking to replace that with westernized clothing. And I don't think they should. The history of Kendo is important. And I think retaining it through the physical practice of wearing the traditional equipment, I think is important. Now, that doesn't mean that it can't be improved slightly in places, but radically changing the design to incorporate things like clips, Velcro, and buckles is not the way I think it's looking to go. And I welcome it remaining as it is in that respect. I'm not looking to make boga that fastens up with Velcro. So yeah, and I don't believe the purpose of the hakama is to conceal your footwork either. Actually, I think that's a bit of a myth that's perpetuated. I don't think there's any evidence for that, and I don't think that the All Japan Kendo Federation's official stance on the hakama is it's there to conceal your footwork. It's traditional Japanese clothing. It was the normal clothing of hundreds of years ago. So yeah, it's partly tradition and culture. You've got to remember, participating in Kendo is participating in Japanese culture. Japanese culture and Kendo are fused together, and they are inseparable. You can't participate in one without well, you can participate in Japanese culture without participating in Kendo, but you can't participate in Kendo without accepting Japanese culture and what comes with it, and the understanding and the empathy of Japanese culture. Empathy, I think, yeah, of Japanese culture, and the acceptance of it and the adoption of it are integral parts of improvement at Kendo, in my opinion. Okay, so that's my answer to that. Okay, that's it for today. Thank you for joining me. Go and buy a mask at the store, or a t-shirt, something like that. Like, share, subscribe. Ring the bell. You got to ring the bell, or you don't get better at Kendo. I mean it. If you don't ring that bell, you don't improve. You might improve, but you'll improve faster if you go and ring the bell. You go down there where it says subscribe, you click that. Doesn't make a difference if you click that, but do it anyway. And then the bell, I think you've got to click subscribe to get the bell, and then you click the bell, and then you get better at Kendo. Go and do it. And most importantly, don't forget to shop at my website, KendoStar.com, because we're amazing. Thanks for watching. See you all next time. Bye-bye.